To learn from and to grow, dealing with emotions to create decisions that it shows. I need a lesson. I need a lesson. I need a lesson. Lessons learned. Everyone has a lesson. Whether it's good or bad, you can learn from it. Welcome back to Lessons Learned. This episode is about to get real personal and interesting. Today, we are here talking about a moment you will never forget. I have so many memories like these because I value my friends, family, and even, unexpected moments. I can talk all day about funny moments I have, but let's just get started. I am not encouraging drugs or sexual activity. These stories are based off guest moments. Listen at your own risk. The first guest explains the trip that she had.
A moment that I'll never forget is this is last Friday. And I was just I don't know. So I I was alone, but my boyfriend is supposed to come over, and he's been working on bikes and shit lately. So he, getting a hobby and shit during this quarantine. But anyway, basically, I was calling him because I realized, this trip is going to be stronger than I thought, and I wasn't really sure if I could handle it, just alone, because my room is trippy as fuck. Any room with a wooden floor, that's just mad trippy. But anyway, so, I'm in my room, I'm seeing shit after 40 minutes of taking the shit. I'm just alright, so I guess I'm gonna die tonight? I don't know how high I'm gonna get. And, so basically, my boyfriend ends up coming over, and just, so he had taken a tablet acid too. He was, starting to come up, but I was still, on, a higher level. At the time, we're just chilling in my room and talking, and then, he realizes, I'm tripping balls, and he goes to take a shower, and he, drags me with him so that I'll at least be, clean and shit, and he basically just, bathed me, and, told me how much he loves me, and I just felt so loved that night. This is my first, real relationship. This is my first time actually falling in love, so, it's the first time a guy has just completely done, almost 100%, right by me, and has just, treated me I'm that girl, and I was finally that girl in that moment, and, that's not, an idealization to, aspire to or anything. It just sort of happens to you, and it's just beautiful when it does. So, it's just definitely a moment that I'll never forget. I'll remember this even when I'm fucking 80. Don't settle. Do not settle. Everybody thinks all men are trash, and, I'm never gonna find the one who's gonna get me. No guy will ever be able to handle me. No, it's not true. It's not. I fell for that shit for a while, too. At one point in my life, I was just dealing with a serious fuckboy, and it just made me realize my worth in a second. I was just wait, I do not deserve to be treated like this. And then I started thinking, maybe not all guys are like this, because this guy is pretty fucking evil, pretty fucking manipulative. You just gotta take, some people are just bad apples, some people are just assholes, but it doesn't mean that you're never gonna find the one that's for you. You just gotta not settle. You gotta be patient. You gotta wait it out. It's just one of those things, I was so lonely for the longest fucking time, and, it's waiting was worth it. That's the lesson.
Next up is one of my good friends named Valerie. She explains her situation with past roommates and teaches multiple lessons throughout her moments.
My name's Valerie. I'm a really bubbly person. I'm a people's person. But just overall, I would say I'm kind of an empath. I don't really like hurting other people's feelings, or I don't like seeing people hurt because it hurts me also. I like to make people smile, and if not, obviously I don't have everything perfect. I have a lot of flaws also, but don't we all? So, but yeah, that's just a little about me. And I'm going to explain something that I'll never forget, which were my roommate situations. When I was in college. Yeah, when I was in college, those are completely unfair. Two roommates. That was interesting for me. I was a transfer student coming into school, and I was paired with someone, actually, so I'm Haitian, African American, and my two roommates, one was Indian and another was Spanish and white, so you could call that the melting pot. It was like a clash of cultures. And it was very interesting to me. It started off really good, and then it turned very sour towards the end. I'll talk about this situation, and then I'll talk about my next one, where I lived with a different pair of roommates, but first I'll explain this one. One was more out there. She was very wild. We want to call free-spirited, and I know all of you know what that means. And then we have one that was super reserved, completely out of the picture, doesn't like to go out, doesn't really like to talk to people, things along that nature. And then you have me, who's right in the middle, half introvert, half extrovert, but more on the extroverted side. I'm a people person, so. And, we were trying so hard to get along in terms of keeping the temperature up and temperature differences. Freaking people like it cold while I like it warm, while others like it hot, and that drove me insane. And we could never meet a middle with that, so we were constantly fighting about that. Otherwise, in the beginning, we were completely fine, but it got to a point, and this is where things get interesting. So, there was one night, I was very, very drunk. And
wait, I have to tell the listeners now, when Valerie gets drunk, it's different Valerie. So
yeah, completely different. I wasn't in my right mind. I wasn't in my right mind, okay? So, and this is a warning to all of you. Do not do this when you are intoxicated, okay? You need to watch your back and watch your steps, okay?
Oh, God.
So, what pretty much happened was I came up with my friend to my room, and my friend was with me, and I told her to come with me into the bathroom, and, I got really emotional, and I just started venting to her. This is not, mind you, this is in my bedroom. I started venting in the bathroom where she slept. Mind you, this is not smart at all, and I recommend against this completely. Okay? So me sputtering out all my feelings to my friend and being very frustrated that I could never have the space to myself and that she was always around and stuff, I blabbered that all out. My friend tended to remind me, but I didn't care in the moment. She said, isn't she here? I said, yeah, she's sleeping though. She's not going to hear anything.
Oh. That's when you fucked up, girl.
Yeah, that's when I messed up. See, I was too much in my head about that shit. It ended up fucking me over. So my roommate was there to greet me in the morning, and I think I'm going to get the regular, hey, Valerie, how are you? I get no type of greeting. And I'm like, that's odd. She's not usually like that. Let me ignore it. Maybe she's in a mood. Let it pass. Okay? No. She brushes her teeth and comes back and is like, good fucking morning. I'm like, what? So I go back to my roommate and I'm trying to apologize, right? Because I was in the wrong. Like, you should never talk about somebody the way like that. If you really have an issue with them, you need to address them, forward. Mm-hmm. So what I did with her, I was trying to apologize, do the right thing, obviously. And guess what I was met with? I tried to talk. She stopped me with her hand. She's like, you don't talk first. I talk first, and then I let you talk.
Oh.
And I was like, what?
Yo.
She totally mind blew me that day, and I literally was so dumbfounded by what she said. I was in shock so much that I did not know what to say, and I didn't want to say something I would regret. A miracle happened actually second semester. What happened was there was a roommate down the hall that was friends with one of my roommates, the Spanish and white one. And that roommate was giving my two friends from that room trouble. And I was having trouble with my Indian one. So to me, it was like, wait, this is perfect. This is perfect. And they wanted to switch roommates. They said, how do we get rid of her? And how do I leave this room without causing any trouble? Right? So what did we do? We swapped rooms. And that was a miracle to me. It was the best change I've ever thought of, because I swear if I stayed in there, I would have killed her. I would have killed her, because how do you go from this nice, sweet person to this shady, I can't even find the word. Like,
damn, you like made her change.
A monster. She's
literally. What were you saying to like? Damn,
yo,
girl.
I was literally saying she need to get a life out of here. She need to, stuff like that. I wasn't saying anything super crazy, but enough to offend her clearly. So, and to me, it's like she's the monster. She's a monster I unintentionally created. Honestly, my lesson from that is when you're mad at somebody and you want something to happen, do not talk about them to someone else. Even if you're venting, it's still going to come off as talking shit. Just talk straight to the person. Even if you need a vent, you could vent to somebody, but as long as you're communicating with that person as well. Right?
I agree.
But if you're not, it can come off quickly as talking shit.
And people are really sensitive, so, like, you have to make sure, everything's good.
Right, and you make the communication decent enough. You have to be careful of what you do to people and, like, how they perceive things, because it really can hurt the way that person sees you. And it's possible that person could even spread things about you. You have no idea. But my second one that I'm going to go into, that was, oh, guys, this is a whole different ball game of crazy. Whole different ball game. I lived in a house, right? There's this house, the duplex. The top of the house, right? It had all of the guy friends I've been close with for a long time. And, I was having trouble living. All of us college students, we struggled at one point in life. And I know all of you guys can understand that. So I literally lived in that top portion of the apartment with all my guy friends. And, it came to the point where, when you're the only girl in a place full of guys and you eventually start seeing rats on the floor with pizza boxes, that's how you know it's your time to go. Because, you know what I mean? Because, like, for me, it was over already. It was like, I can't do this. And miraculously, the tenants downstairs in the duplex, it was another family living under us, but they were so fed up with our portion of the house, having parties, having shenanigans going on, things like that. They moved out eventually, and guess how much space they had? At least for 2 to 3 people down there. And to me, that was perfect, because I needed my own space, but I didn't want to find a whole new place to live in. And the rent was just right up my alley. The price was right. So that's what I went for. And, I was thinking, oh, what roommates will we have? Because I need a place and, things along that nature. And my friend at the time, too, was looking for a place. And the boy's friend was looking for a place also. And, since he's friends with the boys, I'm thinking, oh, it's fine. Like, it'll work out, right? So the worst thing, guys, you guys can do is, I'm going to tell you what I learned from this, is make assumptions about people. You cannot assume everything is always going to go right. You cannot assume everyone's going to act the way you want them to act because it's not realistic. So I'll go into this. So it really became a family super quick. But as you start to live with people longer and longer, you know, there tends to be tension of some sort. So my roommate, my guy roommate, I had a girl roommate who I lived with, and then I had a guy roommate that lived separately in his own room. So, you know, it got to the point where he got really, really complacent, and my girl roommate and I were not really for the shenanigans. We did not like the fact that he would not clean. He would not do anything. He would pay bills late, you know, things along that side. And, you know, that can agitate anybody, right? So we put our foot down and we're like, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And guys, don't ask me why. Do not even ask me why. But for some reason, my guy roommate had something against my girl roommate also. I don't know what happened in between them. I don't know what exactly was going on, but he had something against her. And so the situation around the house got really tight really quick. And what basically happened after that is it started getting crazy. It started getting petty in the house. So the pettiness increased on his end, and he did the exact opposite of what she wanted. And me and my roommate, my girl roommate at the time, we had issues too. So it didn't help the situation in the house. And it just made things all weird. And this boy don't like to be told what to do. So he retaliated and did everything opposite. And, you know, I tried to keep the relation in between because I like to be somewhat of a peacemaker. I don't like fighting people. I don't like being on opposite ends. But if I can create the peace, I'll try to. So basically I told him, like, you know, just trying to give him suggestions, like, she's not trying to be mean. She's just really letting you know that this is how it should be and how this is how we get along. And then one day, this is when things really, really changed and it became a war zone. I went back home because I used to live out of state. I went back home. I came back and, you know, I left all my pots and my silverware, everything at my apartment, obviously, because I wouldn't be there for the summer. I came back 3 months later, and all my pots were molded completely. Every single pot molded with food and other and shit. After that, I lost my... Oh my gosh, I lost my mind. I lost my damn mind. I literally became a different... And this is what I don't want anyone else to do. I literally became a different person. From so much anger, so much... Because how do I let you borrow my items in like a trusting sense and then you just ruin them? You don't care to clean them. You don't care to keep them in any good shape while I'm gone. Nothing. You just let them get ruined. And that's probably $80 worth of pots right there. This is when the game started. This is when the war zone started. So my girl roommate and I, we were not having it from him. He was too much of a slob. He was not to be trusted. And things got bad really quick. So a couple of examples of things that happened were obviously, you know, the pettiness wars, right? So there was one day my girl roommate and I were sleeping. This is December. It is probably like -3 outside, okay? And we don't have good insulation in the house, but we had some heat, right? And he was an engineer, okay? So what he does is, it's 11 p.m., we're cold as shit, we're about to freeze, we're about to get frostbite, okay? And I'm like, I need to turn this heat up before we die in here, okay? I leave my room to go to the control box. Guess what I see on that control box?
What?
There is a lock on the control box for the heat.
Okay. Oh my god.
So I couldn't turn the heat on. That whole night, we almost froze to death. I'm like, you evil bastard. So I literally ran to the guys upstairs. I told them what was going on. No one believed me. I said, come see for yourself. They all came down to the control box. By the time I got back to the control box, the lock was gone. And everyone thought I was crazy. They're like, Valerie, like, you really need to, like, stop this shit. Like, it's really late. Guys, it gets worse. Guys, I can't tell you how much this really devastated me. My girl roommate was doing a final, and 2 minutes before submission time for her final that would determine her passing her grade, he unplugged the modem.
Oh my god.
He unplugs the modem in the router so her internet connection diminishes and she is unable to send her assignment in. And guess what? She failed that class. So to retaliate, I know there was something he hated most. He told me that one thing he would hate if someone did, he said he hates fake hair. He hates fake hair with a passion. He hates weave. He hates extensions, shit like that. It grosses him out. So you know what I do? I wrap my clip-ins around all the doorknobs in the house. Every single doorknob to the T, I wrap my clip-ins around.
I remember that. Oh my god.
Yup. And literally after that day, he lost his shit. Lost it. Went crazy. Next day, we pummeled him to his room, tried to ruin his life, and then he called the cops on us. Almost got arrested that day. I'm telling you, this list never ends. I would talk forever to you guys about it, but that's just the start of it. I'm telling you, he tried to poison my food when I was sleeping. I'm telling you,
so
guys, it never ends.
Like all of that, what did you learn? Like, that's crazy.
I would say you never know someone like you think you know them. That's definitely something I learned from that experience, because I knew him for about a year before living with him, and I thought he was the nicest guy. I thought he was great, decent person to live around. Nope, guys, he turned into this demon.
Right. Just like you said before, don't assume things.
Do not assume things about people. Don't assume things about any situations. You don't truly know people. And if you need to talk to them about something, talk to them directly. Do not fight back. Do not be petty. Pettiness is the lowest of all of us, guys.
Right. Pettiness is childish.
It's very childish. Do not stoop to the level that me and my roommates have stooped to, because that is underneath you. And I still can't believe to this day I participated in that foolishness. Don't encourage bad behavior. Be yourself. Be a good person. And honestly, watch your back, because you don't really know people. And be very communicative, because communication is actually 90% of problems these days. Mm-hmm. Everything else is whatever. All the 10% is rest of whatever, but that 90% is communication. So you always want to make sure you're communicating the right way with people. But what I learned is I'm never living with randoms again. That's what I learned from this shit.
So if you don't like something, speak up. I believe if you stay quiet for too long, it's going to come back to haunt you. Trust me. I know. Finally, we have Lena. I met Lena in college. She is so sweet and nice. She talks about a moment she will never forget with a twist at the end.
So, for the moment I'll never forget, I chose my virginity story because I think it's funny. And also, it was a good lesson. I am not religious or anything like that, but I never really had any interest in sleeping with guys. When I was growing up, it just wasn't something that appealed to me. And so life went on, graduated high school, went to college, whatever. And I still was like, no, like, I'm good. I'll wait for the right person to come around. And then my roommate, my junior year, was fantastic, such a good friend, and she was always trying to, like, get me to go out there and, like, wanted me to do speed dating, and I was like, definitely not, because I'm, like, the shyest person ever. she had a girlfriend from Baltimore that she was dating, and she was on the phone with her one night and was like, oh, do you have any friends for my roommate? And she's like, I don't know. And then they're like, what about Dominic? And she's like, oh, yeah, that's a good one. And I'm like, then I'm intrigued. So I'm like, who's Dominic? Like, what is this? And so we start, like, stalking him on Instagram, and he, like, sings songs, plays the guitar. He was super cute, way out of my league, or what I thought was my league. I was like, yeah, right, this guy's never going to go for someone like me. And so we messaged him, and he replied. I basically just said, oh, you're a really good singer, trying to, like, play it off. And we started, like, texting, talking back and forth for, like, 2 weeks. And I guess I was just, like, so into it, like, wow, this guy actually likes me. I fell for whatever he said. So he was like, I really like getting to know you. A weekend, he's like, I love you, but said love in quotation marks. Whoa. And I'm like, okay, whatever that means. I was like, I love you too in quotation marks. And then, so we had a long weekend at school, and I was off of work. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go see him, because he had lived in Georgia, and I was in Lowell for school. Mm-hmm. So I was like, why not? I have money saved up. Let's go down and see him. So I bought my ticket at like 2 a.m. in the morning, because I was thinking about this late night. It was probably not a good idea. I called my grandmother to ask her, like, should I go? Should I do this? She's like, no, what if he's a murderer? I'm like, true, but she's old-fashioned. So then I called my dad. He's like, well, if you don't go for it, you'll never know. And I'm like, you're right. So I bought the ticket. I don't know why I listened to my father, but that's fine. And then, so yeah, I booked the ticket. The next morning I went and I got a Brazilian wax by myself. I'd never had one before. Took 2 finals in my classes, and then I had a friend take me to the train station, and I went to the airport. And that night I was in Georgia. So he picked me up with his brother, and we drove back to their house to live with his mom. It was a pretty big house. He said he had the basement, so that was cool. We get there, and we go down these stairs. There's not even a door on the basement. It's a curtain hanging from the ceiling. And I'm like, oh my God, like, we're not doing this. So then we go through it, and there's a really nice bedroom to the left. Got like a nice queen bed. It's nice and made up, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. But then to the right is like the main area of the basement, and it's just a twin size bed next to the window, and like a desk and a TV. And he's like, oh, this is my room. And I'm like, which one? And he's like, this one. I'm like, so where the hell? Because obviously, like, your listeners don't know, but I'm plus size, and I don't know whose twin size bed I'm sleeping with in because it's not a thing. And he's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, you don't even have a door. Like, oh, it was bad. I could tell from the moment I got there. So I went with the moment, just, you know, trying to do something new, go with the flow. And so we started kissing, whatever. And he's like, oh, like, let me bend you over, see how it lines up. I'm like, okay, like, that's cute, I guess. And then he just, like, puts it in, and we start going at it. And it was, like, 2 seconds, and then he wanted to try a different position. Every time it was, like, 2 minutes long. It was really, honestly, like, terrible.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I was there for, like, 2 days, 2 nights, whatever. His mom was super nice. I got to meet his sisters. It was very odd. I didn't eat the entire time. I was just, like, not hungry. I think it's because I was nervous.
Yeah.
And then, the worst part, though, was his mom wanted to make me eggs. So I was in the kitchen. He was, like, making eggs. And there was roaches crawling up the wall.
You're lying.
No, I'm not lying. I wish I was lying. And then that night, we, like, tried to do it again, like, 2 minutes long. He ended up coming when he wasn't even in me. And then we're cuddling later that night, and he's like, I kind of feel like a dick, but I don't think I'm ready for a relationship. Knowing damn well that the 2 weeks prior, that's all we talked about. He knew I was a virgin, like, all this other stuff. And, yeah. So I was like, okay, it's fine. And then there was another roach crawling across the floor, and he hit it with a sandal and tried to play it off like I didn't see it. And I was like, yeah, okay, like, I gotta get out of here.
Yo.
So, yeah, so I packed my bag, made sure it wasn't on the floor. And then the next day, I was like, hey, my flight, let's go. Like, I was trying to get there extra early. So I flew back to Lowell, and we like got in an argument because he was supposed to come to my house for Thanksgiving, but then he just like didn't feel like it. And he always said he wanted to get to know me, but wouldn't ask me any questions or like talk to me about my life and actually try to get to know me. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then yeah, we had this big fight, didn't talk for like a week, and then he called me. He's like, I see you as my future wife, just not right now. And I'm like, so what, you want me to wait? Like, he's like, well, not exactly, but like, if you want to. And I'm like, yeah, no, not a thing.
That doesn't make any sense. Why do you guys think like that? I'm just gonna wait on you?
Right. Like, no, I'm good. And the next day I actually met my current boyfriend, so it's fine. But yeah, it was an interesting month of November that year.
Wow. So I know you learned a lot, but what did you learn out of all of this?
I would say my main lesson was just like take chances, because I have always been shy and reserved and like done everything by the book and like afraid to just step out and do things like wild. So I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, I have the money to spend for this plane ticket. I'm going to go. No, it didn't go how I thought it would or end how I wanted it to. But I was glad that I took the chance and, like, did something for myself. And actually, like, went out there and went out of character to actually, like, try something new.
Right. And you experienced something so you can tell this story later.
Exactly. And learn what not to do.
Right. Oh, my God. Wow. Slapping a roach like you didn't know. Thanks for listening. Please check back for more episodes and message me if you would like to share a story. Stay safe and healthy.